Hi, everybody. Thanks for staying with me through this whole week where we've been talking about debrief. Um, I've really enjoyed making these videos and talking about it. I kind of wish I was doing a debrief with my own team to wrap up the week. I'm not. Instead, I'm doing this video, which is intended to be about answering questions. I didn't get tons of questions, but I did have some comments and interaction about time as it relates to debrief. So I wanted to just address two things around that today. First is, how long does a debrief take? And the second is it worth asking people for this extra output of time? So let's start with the first one. How long does a debrief have to take? You know, this is a terrible way to answer it, but as long as you have, right? How much time do you have? I say that because I've certainly done debriefs in like 2 hours, but I've also done them in 2 days. In fact, when I was working in a nonprofit and our teams were quite close, but also like spread across the country, we would often spend a couple of days of meetings twice a year doing a pretty substantial debrief. So, you need some time. Every day in these video series, I've been talking about sort of one activity that you could potentially use. When you have a lot of time, like a full day or a couple of afternoons, you can do more than one. Like, it gives you a chance to like work through a timeline of your fall together, and then do the appreciation circle to honor people after that. That's really powerful. To get a chance to look back and reflect, and then also to take time to do some interpersonal work. So what I would say is like block a substantial amount of time. I don't think you could do it in less than 2 hours. Like I think that would be really hard. So try to book 2 hours, and if you're going to do that, you're just choosing one thing to do. And the reason is that you want to have room. You want to have room to do the activity, but really what takes the time is the conversation about the patterns. You need to have time to talk and to let people respond and look at it again, and find the meaning together. Like there's not really, sorry, I'm leaning down to grab my notes. There's not really a way to do that faster. So give yourself time for conversation. You don't want to be in the position where you get stuck like right in the middle of talking about like what didn't work or where did our conflict patterns come from, and then your time is up and people have to leave, right? Like, you don't want to leave a debrief in the middle. You want to come to resolution, to meaning making, to a place where you're able to have a positive end note together. So this is just a tip for leading like anything, but a debrief in particular, plan it long, and tell people it's long so that people go, oh my God, it's so long, and then end early. Everybody loves it when you end a meeting early, especially if you just let them go home. Plan a big day, and then just enjoy being done early if you get there. The second question is about, is it worth asking people for that kind of output of time? Because, of course, if you're asking for a big block, that can feel overwhelming. People get like, ooh, about meetings. And the person who asked that question, I imagine, is working with a volunteer team. Like it's a team of volunteers. And debriefing is good to do with volunteers, so good for you. Like if you are a pastor and you have a team of youth leaders, or if you're a hockey coach and you got like some other volunteers and your team, like you might want to do a debrief with your hockey coaches. Any kind of volunteer work that you're involved with, or board work where people are volunteering their time for a board, debrief is really helpful. But if you ask for a big chunk of time, that can feel overwhelming. I do think it's worth, of course I think it's worth it, or I wouldn't have done this series of videos. Imagine if I'm like, no, it's not. I think it's worth it. So I would encourage you to ask for something that's reasonable, that people will be able to give. and something that's accessible to most people on your team, because you really want to have as much as possible. You want to have a full team. Um, and then go ahead and do one of those activities and do it as well as you can, because I think that once people experience having a good debrief session, they will want to do it again. Um, and this question pulls us all the way back to the very first video in the series. Why would you do a debrief? And this quote that we've been looking at, if you don't debrief it, it didn't happen. That's true. We tend to be moving too fast most of the time to reflect and learn. You just keep going. And as soon as one thing is done, you have to move on to the other. And so you don't get to pick up and internalize the pieces that you learn from that first experience. So if you're leading in any capacity, this is a very powerful way, one of the best ways to help your people and your team develop skills and get better. They learn from their own experience. They learn together. They solidify that learning together. It's very powerful. So I really hope you do it. And in fact, please leave me a note in the comments if you try a debrief out. And let me know how it is. I'd love to hear about it. If you're about to start one and plan one and you're just not sure, I would love to chat with you on the phone. I'd love to do a free consult, plan a little debrief. It's one of my favorite things to do. So if you want to give that a shot, give me a call or drop me a message, and we'll talk. And if you do one, I'd love to know how it goes. Okay. Take care, everyone. Happy holidays.